Welcome to another Saturday night and taking it to the nub. And tonight, this is a special night we have tonight. Tonight we have, my special guest is Lars Tetens. And if you don't know Lars, let me just give you a little brief introduction, and then we're going to bring Lars onto the show. Lars is a man of so many talents. He's been dubbed by his admirers as the contemporary Leonardo da Vinci. People ranging from high-profile celebrities to politicians and presidents of Fortune 500 and 100 companies have retained him as their consultant on many varying projects and are among his abundant admirers. Let's talk about Lars. So come on in, Lars. Let's break this all down for everybody. The man, the myth, the legend, one of the most interesting men in the cigar industry and beyond, Lars Tetens. Thank you for joining.
Thank you, brother. I've been listening to your stuff for a while. I love you, man. You know that.
I know. We haven't seen each other personally in about almost 3 years since the show when you launched the big breakthrough with Alec Bradley.
Yes.
What are you smoking tonight?
I'm smoking a cigar that I made. It's a semi box press stick. I rolled this cigar probably 35 to 36 years ago, something like that.
That cigar's been sitting around for 35 years, waiting for tonight. Tonight?
For tonight. I am
honored.
Special honor with you, baby. Special honor.
Well, I reached in the box, and this one's probably about 2 years laying around. The Cubagua.
Yeah, that's a good stick. It's a mild cigar. And that one is made in Nicaragua, and it's a very good stick. It's something that's like it's not really as like your typical infused or flavored or conditioned cigar. It doesn't have that strong thing. You can taste all the tobacco in it.
Right.
And it's on the mild side.
And that's fine, because I've been smoking a few cigars today, so
nice.
I have a mild one right now. I had a very easy dinner. I'm trying to go through this weight loss thing between now and June. I'm on a mission. I have everybody that can help me. Just keep promoting me to be on the mission to lose weight so I can officiate my niece's wedding in June.
Oh, that's awesome.
Trimmed down. So I've just got my minister. I am now a minister. And I can actually perform weddings and funerals and other things. So,
wow, that's awesome. I love that.
So I'm excited to do this for them.
Hey, what did you eat tonight?
I had my wife made a nice chicken salad with tomatoes, cherry tomatoes and some nuts and some fruits and just some lettuce, and that was it.
Sounds delicious.
Extent of my whole meal. And I get to have one obligatory drink. I've cut my drinking down dramatically. So I've got a pinch and a half of Angel's Envy.
Oh, nice.
So that's my extent. I stop after that. So if I do one drink a day, I'm okay. Eventually I get that down to a little bit less. But right now, you got to ease out of this,
I'm drinking a little bit of Pellegrino tonight. And a little bit of cold brew coffee. So I like to cold brew the coffee myself. I just keep it next to me on my desk.
Okay.
So I just put distilled water in it and a big coffee bag and let it sit overnight. And the next day it's ready to drink.
Okay. It's like my wife likes to make good French press, but she does a cold press.
I love the French press too.
And that's always good too. So Lars Tetens, I mean, you've been around cigars for what, about 42 years now?
Yes. Since I was 15.
And And I do recall your cigars back, I was in college in 1977 in New York. So I remember
79, I started rolling over at Five Brothers Kenya, remember, on 29th Street.
There you go. So that's, yeah.
Yep.
So there's this thing going on, and these Lars Tetens, and they were all the rage. But it's like, wow, these are unique. And remember, people back then, for those that are new to cigars today, you didn't walk into a humidor and have this amazing display and selection around the world of all these different things. You had like Garcia Vegas, and you had some Macanudos, maybe, and
Tiamos,
and it wasn't until like my father came out with his stuff, and that was like, holy crap, look at this, that was in the early 90s, right? And you predated that.
79, man.
and you were doing things that nobody was doing at the time or even thought of.
Yeah, you're right. And the funny thing is, I'm glad you brought that up. The funny part about that is that a lot of people equate me for the guy doing the kind of infused style cigars, conditioned, flavored, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
But really, it was about my using Ligero before anyone was using it back in 1979. Nobody put Ligero in cigars. In fact, it really didn't catch on till the mid 90s or early 2000s. But in fact, everybody that I even let smoke those cigars back then, they were like, nobody will ever buy this. It's garbage. And my blends, I would try to make milder cigars for the people, but it wasn't mild cigars. It would be, as in today, it would be like a medium bodied cigar. But back then they thought that was like full bodied and crazy, because you could basically take a newspaper, roll it up, and that's basically the same taste you'd have back in the days, because they didn't want any kind of flavor to it at all.
It was just a thing.
Exactly.
You want to get a cork on? Let's go this way. Yeah.
Exactly. They didn't want it to taste like anything. So that was considered a good cigar. And it wasn't like in the beginning where I was just like, oh, I'm going to come up with this idea to make stronger, fuller bodied cigars. It's just, I like to have flavor in my food. I like my food seasoned. I wouldn't eat boiled chicken with no salt and pepper on it. Thank you. I love that.
We'll talk about that later.
Yes, absolutely. And so, of course, I wanted my cigars to have some little bit of, flavor to them, to have some kind of thing. But so the rollers at the factory and the managers at the factory, since I wasn't considered a good roller, I wasn't considered a good cigar maker, anything, because I was just a young kid, 15 years old, trying to learn how to roll cigars. They just gave me all the reject tobacco they had. And then I flew around and I would get Ligero for free. A couple times people paid me just to take it away. They paid my expense. This is an expense to take it away. I would ship it back to myself. And since I didn't pay anything on it anyways, I never got charged any, taxes on it or any of that kind of shit. I just got my package, and I had some Ligero tobacco that I had free, and I used to get that all the time. And then I would use that stuff to roll my cigars. So most of the people, when they smoked it, they couldn't believe that, that I even rolled a cigar like that, because they thought it was awful. The managers would come in, take a whole stack, like 50 of my cigars, and after they'd smoke like 2 seconds of one, take all of them and just throw them in the garbage.
Wow.
Then another manager would come, take them out of the garbage and put them in like a display thing, and then sell them. And nobody knew my name back then. They didn't care what my name was, because I was just some idiot young kid. So they just called me White Boy. And in Antonio's place, which wasn't his place now, it's Antonio Martinez's place. It's his son. Antonio passed away since then, but his son Jesus, he runs the place now.
Yeah, the Martinez Cigar Factory.
That's exactly right.
Cigars.
Fabulous cigars. And I've known him literally since he was born. I've known him since he was a little kid. And his dad taught me how to roll cigars. And the manager of the factory, Five Brothers Kenya, which was originally what it was called, they used to go ahead and sell my cigars in one little kind of humidor that was above the display humidor, and the display was only every cigar in the display was 25 cents to $1.50. The most expensive specialty cigar that they made was $1.50 back then. They charged $10 for my cigars in the thing. So people would go in, why are these $10? And they had a little sign above it. It said White Boy Cigars. And then they would just point to me and be like, it's the white boy rolling cigars. It's a white boy. Like I was a monkey act. That's all. I was like the little monkey act, the little circus act. Look at the white boy roll cigars. The rollers, all the other rollers were in the back room rolling cigars, and then they would take the cigars in front. They only had me set up in the front so people could see a white boy rolling cigars because they just thought it was hilarious.
Wow. So you branch on this and you built this name for a while. But I'm trying to connect the dots, if I recall. You've always been on the planet, but you faded. Okay, Lars Tetens seemed to fade into the background of the boom of the 90s and then now the new booms. When did that happen, and what caused that?
It wasn't so much as there was a lot of talk of the new brands that were coming out, and we continued to sell and continued to sell even more cigars the whole time. It's just that we weren't, first of all, any distributor that would try to advertise my product, I would cut them off. I didn't want any advertising. I didn't want my name out there advertising. I didn't want to be out there. I wanted it to sell because people loved the cigar. I wanted people to buy the cigar because they tasted it and loved it, and that was what they wanted. It wasn't, didn't want to try to do it in marketing to sell the sticks.
I see.
And we'll concentrate on very small groups of stores. We had a thing called the 75 Club, and that was the 75 cigar stores in the country that we provided our full line to, which was over 150 brands.
Oh.
And each one had anywhere from like a few cigars to like 8 or 10 cigars in each brand. So it was not I didn't try to go ahead and make it a household name in the cigar business. I didn't try to make it where I sold in every store. We selected individual stores that we thought were the right places to sell our cigars. And then we were a huge portion of that shop.
I understand. Wow.
And then the people who go into my Facebook and look at some of the things, you'll see whole walls of a humidor. The entire wall is just my cigars. And that's a bunch of cigar shops were like that. So you wouldn't see my cigars in a bunch of different shops, but you would see it in like the top ones. And Davidoff on Madison Avenue, they limited it to one per person. They could only buy one Lars Tetens per person. So people would send like their secretaries and their people who worked for them and whatever to go out, stand in line to buy cigars. So you could get 5 or 6 of your workers go out there and just stand in line at Davidoff's until you got one stick each.
Now, did you do events back then? Did you actually show up at the shops?
Not really.
Today?
No.
They just, people talked about it. It was an underground thing. Everybody's like, hey,
Yep.
Lars Tetens, man, you gotta have to try. Remember, people would say Lars Tetens. I was like, I don't know Lars Tetens. Hey, try, like, wow, when it was Tetens.
A lot of people didn't even know that I was a real person. A lot of people thought it was just a fake person. So I would get that all the time. And people would say when I'd come into a place and they would meet me and be like, oh, you're Lars Tetens that makes the cigars? And they were like, I didn't even know that was a real person. I thought it was like just some fake thing you did.
Wow.
So
your website, and I guess it's been revamped. So
it's in the process of being revamped even
right
more now.
So for those that don't know, it's LarsTetens.com. Very easy to remember. But on there, what I found interesting is the section on Lars Cigar and Cigars you have like 28 quotes from yourself, which I read every one. Okay. I even printed some out.
Oh, thank you.
and I find them, I think people, it's really good to go there. If you really want to just feel that brotherly, sisterly love of cigars and what we are all about, you've captured a great feeling in these quotes. And I'm just going to throw one out there as an example that I liked. It says, people reach for the unreachable and become depressed. There are no perfect cigars, just as there are no perfect relationships. Accept the imperfections and decide if you can live with them or not. If a cigar had a hard draw, to me, it's like a person with a closed mind, not willing to grow and accept change. Now, can I live with that and still grow and experience life myself? Profound, to say the least.
I wrote that book when I was 15.
So these are excerpts from a book you wrote.
Yeah, it was a book called Lars Cigars, and I wrote it when I was 15 years old, and printed it up. Was selling it, and actually, Intel paid me to print up copies of it in color, and I did, and they gave it out to their management.
Fascinating, because there are some really good things in here. What is your favorite of the quotes that you put on your page? What is like one of your favorites? What would you like say is like really defines maybe who you are or what the cigar world is?
I probably won't go ahead and say all anyone's my favorite, but I really love also the one about when one of my rollers are angry and frustrated, and how am I gonna I'm talking about rolling cigars when they're angry. Can't really roll cigars, it's not good to do that kind of thing, but that kind of anger and stuff inside you like that, and they can't let it go. I said, well, they ask me, how do you let go of all this to continue to do it without that kind of anger feeling? And I said, well, as soon as the cigar stops holding you, you can read that one if you have it. I can't remember the exact word for it, but the words on it, but that was it. That's one of my favorite ones.
Like number 27, where you said, one day after I told the rollers,
yes, this is it.
One day after I told the rollers the downfalls of rolling cigars while angry, frustrated, depressed, and other emotional states, one of them came to me smoking one of his favorite cigars. He asked me, how do I get rid of my emotions? My response was simple. When that cigar lets go of you, then I can tell you. Right?
Yep.
It's the cigar world. So
yeah.
Anyway, if you haven't, people watching, if you hadn't had an opportunity to go check out the LarsTetens.com website, you can go there and you go to Lars on Cigars, and you'll see, and I'll pull this up in a little bit because there's some amazing photos of Lars Tetens through his life, and the transition is amazing. I mean, you went through a lot of transition characters of life, where you've transitioned from that 15-year-old kid to who you are now as an adult, and all those transitions along the way. And many of those transitions brought new adventures, new challenges, and new opportunities. You got into doing luxury bags.
I did that. I started that actually before I started making cigars.
You were doing that when you were like 14 years old?
No, 5.
You were making bags at 5 years old.
Yeah, but it wasn't for people. It was for Barbie dolls. So I have 4 sisters, and my sisters came to me and were just like, well, a couple of my sisters at that point came to me, and we lived in Greenwich, Connecticut. And my sisters came to me and were just like, back then, all the little girls in Greenwich had to have like every Barbie doll thing. The Barbie doll house, the Barbie doll car, the Barbie doll clothings and bags and whatever. So everyone there had all of it. And my sisters wanted me to, they came to me and were like, hey, Lars, I want you to make some Barbie doll clothes and Barbie doll bags for our Barbie dolls so that we can have something different than everybody else. And so I was like, yeah, I don't know how to sew and I don't know how to do that. And they were like, just figure it out, learn how to do it. I was like, okay, I'm 5. So, I don't know. I'm so stupid anyways that I have no idea that
So
I
you're
don't know
making
what I'm
these
doing.
tiny bags?
Yes. Yes. So I was like, okay, I guess I got to learn how to make bags and clothing. And so I started making bags and clothing for my sister's Barbie dolls. And that's how it started. And I ended up making Barbie doll clothes and bags for all the little girls in Greenwich, Connecticut, and selling it. So it was pretty cool.
Wow.
And
now, did those bags produce the seed for creating the real bags?
Yes.
And you kind of mimic back to what those were, or were they morphed from that?
So my mom and some of the teachers at school that saw them when they brought the Barbie dolls into school were like, hey, Lars, can you make that for me? That same bag? I'm like, yeah. I mean, it didn't seem like it was going to be a big deal different. So I was like, yeah, I guess I can. And I would just make bags for teachers and make bags for my family, my sisters. I even made a big briefcase for my dad. Yeah, I just started making bags like that and making clothing at the same time.
So the bags, which are amazing, I guess.
Thank you so much.
If I look at this one here, right? So here we've got the LT Roll Cross body bag. Just $10 cigars in 1970s, $3,000 bag, leather bag. The detail on this, just look at the detail work that's on this bag. All right, for those that are watching. So it takes a lot. This is all, what kind of leather do you use on these?
Well, I use a lot of like see, there's Alessandra. That's one of the artists I work with too.
This here's Alessandra.
She's a singer.
Okay.
And a songwriter. She's very talented and plays drums and plays guitar. And so I'll work with a lot of equestrian leather because I also made saddles for a long time. So I'll work with a lot of equestrian hardware. Like those are the kind of hooks you use in a saddle. And I just use them in my bags.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very nice. Now, where can people only buy these on your site, or do you sell these in high-end stores?
Well, we were selling them in high-end stores around the world, all over the place. But right now we're about to stop doing that and start opening up couture shops.
Oh.
Yeah.
So we're gonna see Lars Tetens couture shops.
Yep. You're in Florida now.
Yeah.
So we're probably going to open up a Lars Tetens bag shops in Wynwood in the next couple of years.
Okay.
Either next year or the year after will be in Wynwood.
That's probably a really good place to open up a couture shop. And right, I mean, you get a hotel room there, it's going to cost you $500-$600. So
yeah,
no problem. Yeah, for sure.
There's a couple Cuban places that opened up in the last couple of years that I love down in Wynwood, and they have the great ceviche down there. That's just awesome. Oh my God.
Oh, so, no, Miami food is a foodie's heaven.
Oh, okay? It really is.
It's one of those destination food places without a doubt. I mean, there's so many different eclectic foods. There's many different nationalities. I mean, you obviously got all the Cuban stuff, but they have everything else is all in a very international city now. I mean, I remember, and you probably remember, right? Miami Beach in 1970s. was not
Coconut Grove was
beach.
the hot spot, right?
There was
Before
nothing
even
there.
South Beach. So even before South Beach and Miami Beach, Coconut Grove was like the place that everyone hung.
Mm-hmm.
That was, I don't know how long have you been down there since back then too? Were you going to Florida back then?
I was not going to Florida back then. My grandfather would come down here all the time, and he always showed me pictures. He, you know, you and your grandparents went on vacation, and then they came back, and they had the 8mm with the projector, and you sat in the
Absolutely.
basement, watched the family movies. So you get to watch the grandma and the grandpa having fun down in Miami Beach while we're freezing our asses off in New York.
So I used to work in a recording studio in Boca Raton. It was owned by the Bee Gees. And I worked in the studio over there. And I did I worked in a couple of different recording studios. I shot commercials for different companies down in Coconut Grove, because Coconut Grove was like the cool spot of Florida at that time. And I mean, now it's kind of a little dated, but back then it was really like, that was what South Beach is, or Wynwood now.
Yeah, I would say that was the Miami at the time, right? And then of course, you know, you got the University of Miami, and that's all university town now.
Yeah, that's right. I love Florida though. It's great. It's a great area. There's some really cool stuff down there. And Fort Lauderdale's cool, and Naples is cool. Naples is blown up so big, right?
Everything here where I live right now in Melbourne, Florida. When I moved here in 1987, we called it Melbourne, Florida. It's still it's got its boring aspect to it, but it's grown a lot. It's matured a lot. We actually are breaking ground for a Margaritaville resort marina restaurant here in Melbourne, Florida.
Dude, that is so cool.
We are looking at an area that has now put up some chic boutique hotels in the downtown area, which used to just shut down at 5 o'clock. Now it's becoming a vibrant place. This is becoming the new West Palm Beach. Okay. People are coming here and enjoying what they have. Now it's got more work to do, and some of the town fathers and mothers of that still run control of this town are still not on board with all the growth. The high-speed rail that they're putting in, that's going to go from Orlando to Miami, should be finished middle of next year, goes right through Melbourne. You'd think there'd be a stop right here. What a perfect place to have a stop, so I can hop on
absolutely,
and I can shoot down to Miami in a high-speed rail, be down there 2.5 hours, right? No, they vetoed it. They didn't want it here. See, the closest stop is Vero Beach, 30 miles.
Oh my God.
I'm like, really? Vero Beach versus Melbourne? Come on. That's the big difference here. So, but that's Melbourne, but it's growing, and that's Florida. It's, people are flocking here, 20 something, 22, 23 million people in this state, and it just keeps growing and adding. So you're welcome anytime. Come down and say, hey, I've been fun.
Oh, I would love to visit with you. You know who's one of my old partners in my cigar company? She bought a house in Melbourne and lived there.
Yeah. And those prices are going up like everything else in the country. So I'm not going to complain. Hey, let me take a quick break here. I'm going to give a big shout out to the sponsors for the show tonight. And then when we come back, we're going to continue this conversation and talk more about Lars Tetens products. And we're going to talk about how did Lars Tetens become so successful? There's got to be a formula or a secret. So today's show is brought to you by Chan Cigars. Chan Cigars is a dream come true for husband and wife Gabby Chan and Liz. They want all hands that work the tobacco leaf in their home country of Puerto Rico to have the same opportunity to expose their products. They call it La Joya del Chan because they cultivate part of their product, and at some point they want to be able to supply the world with their native tobacco leaf. The pride that Gabby and Liz feel is the same pride of all those who work the tobacco leaf And for this, they deserve a portal that represents them. They want to say thank you for supporting our country. We will resist. You can follow them at www.lajoyadelchan.com and at El Chan Cigars on Instagram and Facebook. Today's show is also brought to you by our friends at Rodriguez Cigars in Key West. Rodriguez Cigars was founded in 1984, and they stand as the oldest cigar manufacturer in the Florida Keys, preserving the historical cigar manufacturing industry that began in Key West in 1831. As the years pass, new generations of family members have expanded manufacturing operations to Nicaragua, and they're proud to be working with some of the finest tobacco in the world. Rodriguez cigars are exclusively constructed with vintage leaves that have been hand-selected, aged, and constructed through the traditional Cuban manufacturing process. If you've ever been down to Key West or you're ever planning, it is the only shop in my mind you go visit is Rodriguez Cigars, Key West. You'll have a fabulous time. We'll talk a little later on news and reviews about the tour that they give down there. Today's show, lastly, is brought to you by Platinum Nova Cigars. Platinum Nova Cigars is a family-owned and operated premium cigar company. Only the highest vintage tobacco and the most skilled hand workmanship go into the making of each Platinum Nova cigar, resulting in a timeless blend of art and craftsmanship. The Nova brand and the family's work are a tribute and an honor to their grandfather to always remember him and his infinite passion for the finest cigars. Their love for cigars started with their grandfather, a dedicated master blender and entrepreneur in the cigar industry. So the next time you're looking for an exquisite cigar experience, pick up a Platinum Nova. You can check them out at www.novacigar.com and on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. You can also, at this point, while they're running their ads, go to their website and you get 15% off your order by using the code BostonJimmie15. And if you're going to be over in the Heritage Festival in Ybor City, you can check out Nova Cigars there. I think you can also check out El Chan Cigars there, and Rodriguez Cigars is not going to be there. So I want to thank my sponsors, for without them, this show was always a little bit harder to do. So you've been blessed with tremendous success, it looks like, through your life, with so many things. At a very young age, starting what you did, do you have like a deep formal education that takes you there? Or did you actually just, this is Lars Tetens, and you just went with the flow? Did you have a plan? Well, how did you get to be where you're at? I mean, people would love to be this most interesting man.
So I'll tell you, when I was younger, first of all, I was not very intelligent, and I was diagnosed autistic, and I wanted to do lots of things, and my parents would tell me when I was younger that I was special. And one day I remember being young and telling my parents I wanted to try to do something that I just wanted to try to make and do. And my parents said, yeah, maybe you want to set your sights in a different way to do something else. And I was like, but Ma, you said I was special. My dad, I was like, I thought I'm special. If I'm special, I could do it. And the parents said, well, you're not special like that. You're special like you're kind of stupid. So if you want to do something, you have to do it. You have to work 10 times harder than a regular person to do it. So I was like, okay, I guess that's my formula. I'm going to work 10 times harder than anybody else doing that, and then I can do it. So that's really how I approached everything. I didn't take it as like, oh, I'm stupid, so I can't do it. I was like, okay, I got to work harder than another person to do it. And I just approached anything I wanted to do, just work my ass off and kept doing it. When I wanted to learn how to roll cigars, nobody would teach me. I was trying to get people to teach me since I was like 12 and 13, and nobody would. And then I went to the Five Brothers Kenya, and nobody would teach me there. I kept begging him to teach me how to roll cigars. I brought them presents. At the time, I was a third partner in a modeling agency and casting company in Manhattan. And I would go to the shop every day, clean the bathrooms, clean the floors, do any kind of thing I could do in the place, and bring food to them and alcohol and whatever, so that they would teach me. And after about 3 months, every day cleaning the bathrooms in there and cleaning up the floors and cleaning the place, they finally were like, had one of the other rollers. It wasn't even a manager, just one of the other rollers. And that was Antonio Martinez, Jesus's dad. And he came over, and the manager said, well, he'll, when he has some time, he'll teach you a little bit. And Antonio was a nice guy, man. He would get me started, and he would say, practice doing this, practice doing that. And I would just sit there and practice it. And then they gave me all the crappiest tobacco that they weren't using. And that's how I started making my blends. And eventually, over the next year, my blends were the #1 selling blends in the shop. And then I would go over to Sanchez's. Within about a month, Sanchez started teaching me how to roll cigars. He was on 30th Street, just one avenue over. And Sanchez would come over, taste my cigars, also throw them in the garbage. And then, yeah, all the time. And he says, this is awful. This is just so awful. No one can smoke this. And then his manager would come, take the cigars and put it in the display case. And everybody was calling me white boy. So there's white boy cigars. And nobody called me Lars. Nobody called my name. And, eventually, slowly, they just started to sell. And this guy who was down in New Orleans, who now, I'm not sure if he still works for Ashton, but he was he was like a top level executive at Ashton. He told me him and his partner, they both owned a cigar shop down in New Orleans. They would come up and buy my cigars. I sold them. You could get like 50 cigars, but in a bundle. Like, it wasn't a bundle wrapped up or any of that. It was just in a plastic bag. No band, no nothing. So they just got my cigars in plastic bags, 50 at a time. And they would take the bags down to New Orleans and put it up. And since they didn't know my name and they just knew me as White Boy, even in their shop, they had it listed as White Boy Cigars. And it wasn't until about a year and a half later that people started saying Lars Tetens, Lars Tetens Cigars. But yeah, it was like that. It just, from everything from the bags to the cigars to the seasonings to all the stuff that I do, it started out as almost like just something I did out of a passion for creating that. Or as the clothing and the bags, that was like to do that for my sisters. And then slowly it just became a business. People bought it, they liked it, so they kept buying it, and that became the business. So I never really started with a business plan. If I had to write a business plan, I couldn't do it. I have no idea how to do that kind of thing at all. So I really just approached it like I made stuff, and if it would sell, then I kept making it.
Now, through your history, though, you had this this blessing of meeting some amazing people through your life. You just stumbled in, they just took a liking to you. Lars is this lovable guy that they just brought under their wing, and they gave you opportunity. They saw opportunity.
Some people, I was really good at being a student. I didn't have a lot of ego or thinking I'm like, oh, know all this, or I'm great at that. Enough. None of that. I was very good at being a good student and just obeying orders and doing what I was told. People don't understand, like, when you want to go ahead and learn stuff, that's how you got to do it. Study under somebody who really knows what they're doing, and then just do everything they say. And I was very good at that. I was good at taking instructions, doing what I was told, and being a good student. And so people who were masters at their craft appreciated me doing that and being that with them, and appreciating them as a master of whatever craft they were. So and that opened the door for me to be able to study under some of the really great masters in many different things.
So how did you come upon creating, let's talk Lars Tetens spices?
Sure.
So I do enjoy your spices.
Thank you.
Everybody I have ever spoken to that has had these will say the same thing. These are some amazing concoctions you have. I mean, I've got one here. This one here is the Saber, the Sabor, the Sabor salt or whatever this is. This is it's got exotic sea salts, sage, cinnamon, and spices. And the other one I had was the Lars Tetens spicy sea salt, which has various exotic sea salts. What is that?
Yokia peppers,
Scorpion
Trinidad's,
Scorpion Trinidad. What is that?
Carolina Reapers, the really strong peppers.
Oh yeah, because you take this.
And you don't have to use a lot of those hot peppers in there, and it still opens it up to make this great spice.
It's so savory, okay? And if I just take a dab of it. Let it linger for a bit. And it just starts working across the tongue, onto the cheeks, and then you begin to feel the burn.
A lot of complexity, right?
Amazing complexity. And so talk to me about your spices, how you came about doing this. And obviously they must be doing well because
we had a garden when I was a young kid. This was started actually in Greenwich. We had our own garden, and I would just dry herbs, and we had a smoker, so I'd smoke peppers and grind them up and then make my spices with it. And I liked seasonings. I liked to have the food tasting like have complexity. Even when I was 5, I was making chocolate truffles. Mm-hmm. I would put hot peppers on my chocolate truffles. I'd put salt on my chocolate truffles. I would make, delicious brownies, but I would have seasoned in my brownies. I had turmeric in the brownie. I would use ginger and sea salt and chili peppers. I mean, I did all that and habaneros. I would do that ever since I was a little kid. So I loved that sweet and spicy kind of savory and sweetness and saltiness all in the same kind of thing. So you would have a dessert, but it felt like it was a meal.
I remember the first time I ever had what would be described as pepper chocolate, right? Was in Russia. I was in Moscow, and I had some of this at an event, and it was like a sensation I never had in my life. I put this chocolate in my mouth, not expecting what I was expecting. Right? I'm expecting chocolate, right? I put this chocolate in my mouth, and a fire starts. Like, what am I eating? And they explained to me all these things that they do with the chocolates, and I had to buy some and bring them home and let people try it. And they get there and just watch their reaction because it was exactly the same as mine. But I love that stuff now. It's like, wow, once you try things like that, it sounds kind of weird at times until you actually taste. And if you enjoy good taste, mix up different things, experiment, try different spices and different fruits and different vegetables and put things together, and you'd be surprised at what you can create.
Yeah. In South America, they would have a kind of hot chocolate they made, even as of a couple thousand years ago. They would make hot chocolate, but it was hot chocolate was the cacao, and then they would have a little salt and chili peppers ground into it. So it was like spicy hot chocolate even back then. And that's where, studying the history of chocolate, that's where I got my idea to start putting it into all of my chocolate kind of creations. The little chocolate bars I made, the chocolate truffles, the caramels that I made. And I always like to use medicinal herbs in my chocolate. So I always put a lot of turmeric in, garlic, ginger, a little bit of black pepper, chili peppers, salt, that kind of stuff to me was, you would use that in like a food dish.
I need to
spicy or
answer.
savory food.
I need to answer one of our followers. Leo
Sure.
Stone just asked, Boston Jimmie, after tasting the spice, how was the puff of your cigar, brother? You know what? It's interesting. There was some heat, and this is one of the milder blends, but now I'm getting this spiciness in my mouth. It's lingering.
It's like you're literally hitting that spicy peppers.
It is. And maybe that's the way to do it. I mean, I have done that. I go through my spice cabinet and I taste different spices, and sometimes I can remind myself, because if I smoke a cigar and I'm like, what is that? I can't put my finger on it. And then I go in and I start smelling things and tasting stuff afterwards. And I go, turmeric. I forgot about that. Yes, that's what that is.
Right.
Now when you blend your cigars, you use the same mental idea of the flavors.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, even like when I started using Ligero, to me, it seemed like natural to use like a spicy tobacco in it, because I use that in my food. So putting a little bit of spicy tobacco in the cigar seemed normal to me.
And then it has taken off because people love that.
Yeah, they love it.
They like to take that first puff and open up their nasals and be like, wow, I can smell again.
That's true. It took a while to catch on. It wasn't until really the late 90s, early 2000s that it started to really catch on. And even then it didn't really completely catch on, but it started that process where people started to have cigars with complexity and body.
Yeah. Well, a lot of that is, came from the Nicaraguan soils, and it made quite a difference and quite an impact on the cigar industry. And especially the smokers of today, we tend to gravitate towards that without a doubt. I mean, it's not, like Connecticut's are no longer your father's Connecticut's, that's for sure.
That's absolutely true.
Some of these things will light you up. If you're not careful, you don't know what you get yourself into.
That is so true.
Let me I want you to talk about a few things. I'm going to open up your website here for a second, and I want you to just point out a few photos in here that I'm curious about.
Sure.
You have such a photo gallery of Lars Tetens. All right, so we're gonna start with this one over here. So who is this Lars Tetens?
That's let's see. I was in my maybe mid-20s to late 20s.
Okay.
At that
Where
time.
were you doing this?
That was in my factory in New York State.
Okay. Let's go past that one. Okay. So where is Lars here with the ball?
And that's in my house in upstate New York. That was like my backyard.
$1 billion.
Yeah, and I know that's funny. And I made that jacket. That jacket and scarf, I actually made all that.
You made all of this.
Yep. That's also my place in upstate New York.
Okay.
That is in my apartment in Manhattan.
How old is Lars there?
Early 30s.
Early 30s.
Mid 30s.
Mid 30s.
Yeah.
Hanging on a boat. Were you down in Florida?
No, actually, that was in my girlfriend's boat and her lake house in upstate New York.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. There you go. On the links. You wearing a kilt there? Is that a homemade? You make that kilt?
That's a kilt and that sweater I made myself. That's a cashmere sweater, and the kilt I made myself. And that's also like raw silk and cashmere.
That's relatively new.
Yeah. Well, no, that's actually, I'm in my late 30s in there, or mid 30s maybe. But that was right outside my factory in upstate New York.
Okay.
And again, I made all these clothes. That clothes you saw in the last picture, the clothes you saw
Yep.
in this picture, I made those clothes. Yeah. And that's me in my 40s.
Wow. Doing the dreads. I just saw Juan Cancel with his dreads the other month up at the Atlanta Cigar Experience from
Oh yeah.
Protocol Cigars.
Yep, Juan.
Level one. There you go. So
That's me in Philly, and that's me in my 40s.
in your 40s, all right.
40s, and that's me in my office in Chicago. And that's also me in Philly in my 40s.
Who's this guy?
Late 40s, I think.
Who's this guy?
That's me when I was 15 years old. And that's my plane behind me.
Your plane.
Yeah.
You had a plane.
Yeah. Well, we flew a lot in our family. We flew a lot. And that's a cigar. Actually, that cigar that I'm smoking there is the first cigar that I could say like I officially really created that blend. Not this cigar, the picture before that. Yep.
This one over here.
Yeah. That picture, the cigar I'm smoking in there, that is literally it's called the Royale. And that was like pretty much the first cigar I created.
So do you have a pilot's license too?
No. I was flying since I was young though. Yep. Yeah, and that's me and my girlfriend.
So we're getting up in age now.
Now I'm in my 50s. Yeah.
Upstate New York.
Yep. Upper 30s, late 30s. Late 30s, same thing.
Wow, what a difference there.
Yeah. And I made all those clothes.
You're almost unrecognizable in some of these younger pictures. It's like.
Yeah. That's probably late 20s, early 30s.
Wow. Look, what a history. So there's the history of Lars Tetens going through life, having an amazing life, obviously. Let me go through a little what's new in news and reviews on Stogie Press.
Sure,
absolutely. Back, and we'll kind of continue this for a little bit, and then
you got it.
Close the show out. But so this week in news and reviews, we'll start with reviews. So 3 cigars this week. The first one is a company called Caminos, and Caminos is celebrating their 5th anniversary, and the 5th anniversary cigar here. So they've retweaked their blends. They're the same blends they had before, but they were getting some feedback, and they retweaked them and made them a little bit better and a little more flavorful. So this particular one is their San Andreas 5th anniversary. It's San Andreas with a HVA binder and a Dominican and Nicaraguan filler. $8.25 cigar. Very nice flavor profile. Had some cherry and cinnamon. A couple of notes I really do like. Citrus and some cream that was coming in. Some nuances of dark chocolate. It did have a kind of harsh start to it, so kind of lost some points on that. There was some malt and sweetness. It has a nice complexity to it, but it wasn't as balanced as I wanted it to until it got deeper into the cigar. Then things really started coming together, and that's kind of the reason why it kind of came up with a lower rating than you would expect. Burn wise, construction, nice burn there down to the burn cone. So the burn looked really good. So I really liked the burn on it. But it did have a harsh start. There were some sour notes in the first third that burned off. And then there was a slight off-scented burn cone, some waviness. And then, yeah, I might try one again. But I think this is one that I would maybe age a little more. Even though it's their 50th anniversary, I think this one could use a little cabinet time. The next one was J.C. Newman Perla del Mar Corojo Toro. So this is the one now. What they've done is they've created these. They've taken their Perla del Mars. This is the Corojo blend. Is a new one for this year, but this is actually using what they call a tamper press instead of a regular box press. And what's important with this, we'll go through, is an Ecuadorian Corojo with Nicaraguan binders and fillers, $7 cigar, box count of 25. There's another note that I don't always get, anise, all right? Not licorice, but the anise, that stuff you get in the nice Indian restaurants, if we cleanse the palate.
Love that.
I love that note. Some coffee, dry leather, some more common notes that were in it. And if you look at this, it's important here. Look at the box press. What's important with this is that this is really very much flat right on the bottom. And if you actually touch it, this little edge goes all the way up the cigar on the side. So it's really pressed hard on the bottom. And then the top has these rounded edges. So this is kind of like this tamper press that they have. So it's a very nice way of it's very silky smooth too when you touch it. Burn wise, good burn. Not any major issues with it. Flavor wise, we talked about. At this price point, I've been smoking through these like crazy. I just love this cigar in the middle of the afternoon. It's just one of those, fire it up. It's not an extremely long smoke, all right, but it's one you're going to enjoy. The last one we have is our friend Steve Saka. This cigar is just an amazing introduction from them. Okay. Yes, you've had the Sin Compromiso before if you're following Steve Saka, but this one they added some Pennsylvania broadleaf into the mix, which added an additional complexity, I believe. You're looking at a San Andreas, and Steve just has a way of, move this off to the side, I think. Steve has a way of describing things in the most professional cigar rolling world, right? So he'll describe this as a San Andreas Negro Cultivillo Tanto, and this one's a thin Lajero, which is a hybridized Ecuadorian Habano, and then he has independent plantation-grown Nicaraguan Pennsylvania seed leaf, as opposed to broadleaf, added to the Paladin Saka, which is what it's called. An extremely complex cigar. It is an extremely pricey cigar. Yes, it is $29.75. But I'm going to tell you, this thing is 2 hours and 15 plus in smoking time. Like I say in a summary, you could buy a cigar for $12, smoke it in an hour and 10, hour and 20 minutes, and then buy another one because you're sitting in a lounge, and before you know it, you're in for $24. You could buy this and just enjoy it the whole time and just have the flavors just continue to evolve and swirl around. It's just one of those cigars that is just flavorful, enjoyable all the way through, beautiful construction, just absolutely fabulous cigar. I really enjoyed this one all the way through. So if you get a chance and you want to pick one up, or you want to pick some up to have for that special occasion, this is definitely on my list. From a news perspective, there was a whole bunch of news they put out. I'm not going to belabor it all for the sake of time, but Mombacho just launched new branding for the U.S. market. So they're going to be changing their name to the Favela SA in the U.S., and they're going to represent the colors of the Favela mansion where they do all of where their factory is located with these bright colors. Alec Bradley started shipping their PCA exclusive, a PCA to come out with a PCA exclusive only cigar called the Magic Toast Box Press Grand Toro. That's being shipped now. They're only going to those that put the orders in at PCA. Sinestro Cigars has announced their NV project. So if you're a fan of Sinestro Cigars, they've got a new one. I should actually open this one up and talk a little bit about it. I love the packaging on this. The cigar is beautiful looking. It's got a 10-year aged Corojo Maduro wrapper with Indonesian Sumatra binder, and it's got a rich fill of Dominican Piloto, Cubano Ligero. It's got a Nicaraguan Ligero. It's got Pennsylvania Ligero. So remember we just talked about Ligero?
That's right.
So
Love
here
it.
you go. Nonstop Ligero in this one. If you like strong cigars, I think this one's going to light you up. So I'll wait till I get some. Isabella Cigar Company has decided to go mammoth for the holidays. And when they say mammoth, we're talking about two cigars. One is a 7x70 and the other is an 8x80. I don't get it, but I appreciate everybody's innovation and what they want to do. I can't smoke an 8x80 cigar. I don't think it'll ever work for me. But that's what they're doing.
I had a girlfriend that was a tiny little petite girl, and she smoked. She always liked the big ring gauge and big long cigars. So I would smoke her. I would make cigars for her that was like always about an 80 to an 86 ring gauge, and anywhere from 8 to 10 inches long.
There you
she
go.
loved it, and she would spend like the day smoking that.
There you go.
So she'd have it for the whole day.
God bless people who smoke those because.
And she was so small and petite, and then smoking this gigantic cigar.
Black Star Line Cigars announced their Dark Warwich, and that's it. So those are the news and reviews on Stogie Press. Oh, and one last one. If you go to Lifestyle and you go into the Lifestyle menu, I did take a vacation down to Key West, Florida. Haven't been down in a few years. I got myself revisited with my good friends at Rodriguez Cigars in Key West. This is a nice little article I wrote about the revisit, what Danny DeFabio, now the owner, has been doing with it. He's third generation in the family of Rodriguez. How he's been revamped the cigar shop, how he's expanded it. And most importantly, what he's done is he does a cigar tour, a factory tour there, because they roll there too. So he's doing a factory tour. It's $35. It takes about 75 minutes. And he takes you through the whole history of Key West, the growth of Rodriguez Cigars. He talks about how plants are grown from the little seeds all the way to the seedlings. And then he actually does this really cool demonstration where he takes out the Ligero, the Saka, the Viso, and lines them up so you get understanding how tall the plant is and what each leaf at the priming looks like, obviously after they've been cured. And then he goes through a little story of the Rodriguez family. And then you get the opportunity to learn about, look at that leaf. You like that leaf?
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Beautiful wrapper leaf. And he shows you how to bunch, how to roll. And then at the end, these two folks, husband and wife, were there as part of that tour I was on, and they sat down and they rolled their own cigar, and they did okay. Little hand holding from Danny, but they ended up getting through it. If you never rolled your own cigar, it's quite the experience the first time. I'm sure Lars can attest to that.
Yes.
But once you get the knack of it, and then afterwards you go up to their storage and aging room where all the boxes and everything he has is stored. And if you like guitar, you can always buy a Rodriguez box guitar.
That's pretty cool.
So very cool place. You can check it out if you're ever in Key West. Like I said, it is the only place to go on the island for cigars. Everything else, I say no. I go to Rodriguez. Not only because he's a good friend of mine, but because I love it. I've been going this for 25 years prior to a little hiatus. But I used to know his grandfather, see his grandmother rolling cigars back in the late 80s. It was the only place I would go. It's like, God, these cigars are great. And now they're even better. So
that's
anyway,
awesome.
That's the cigar news, reviews, and lifestyle on Stogie Press. Let's get back to Lars. Still smoking it, man. It's good.
Thank you.
An hour into this and it's still working. It's very mild.
Yes.
Very, very mild cigar. It doesn't have, some of the other ones have a little more of the spiciness and stuff you work with it. And this one is just it's very pleasurable cigar. A little bit of sweetness that came through on it. So now, I think we've gone through most everything. What's next? Oh, we didn't talk about the relationship with Alec Bradley, how that's going.
I love Alan. Alan's a great guy. I think at this point we're probably going to be parting ways.
Okay.
Over the next, few months. But he's a great dude. I love him. Just.
All right.
And
leave that there. I enjoyed the fact that was happening for you. It kind of got you pumped up again into the world of cigars. You saw what people started coming around and realizing, wow, Lars Tetens, and that was good.
And I still love him. I think we're still going to remain probably close friends for a long time.
Nothing not to love with Alan Rubin.
Right.
It's just
a great guy
to smoke cigars with and talk.
Yep.
So what's next for Lars Tetens? You've done so many things, and we haven't even touched on everything that you've done. I mean, your guitar work, right? Did I hear on one of the shows you produced an album?
Well, yeah, I still am doing music. I have quite a number of artists I do consulting for and create beats for and create music for and shoot and direct videos for and that kind of stuff. I have a consulting business that I consult for a lot of different companies on many different products lines and different businesses and marketing and all sorts of stuff. But I'm probably going to also be going even deeper into the movie industry and music industry. I'm working with a movie director and writer right now that we're, he's working on a number of films and I'm consulting with him on those. And then I'm going to be helping him in casting the next one next year and working on some of the other projects. I consult on the script and that kind of stuff.
All right.
And,
sounds
that's
like
pretty
you've
cool.
got a plate full of adventure coming up over the next couple of years.
And I'm working on my bags still. I'm always making new bags, and I have quite a number of different things I'm working on, and probably working on setting up this year. Hopefully, if we don't have any kind of resurgence of COVID, doing some concerts. And I'll have a few different artists in there that we'll be promoting and doing some concerts and stuff like that. That's pretty good. It's like that kind of stuff.
Sounds super excited, man.
It's going to be fun.
Going to be, well, I don't know when you find the time to do all of these things. I mean, I have a hard enough time doing a few things that I do and just kind of ignore the world around me.
You build a great team around you and just don't try to micromanage it. Just build a good team and let them do their thing.
That's best advice anybody can give on how to manage a company.
Yeah.
I had an old friend of mine that told me once, a manager in the engineering world, who said the best manager is the one that has a desk, a phone, a pad, and a pen. And most of the time, that pad has nothing written on it because everything's working beautifully.
Right.
He's there to troubleshoot and solve the problem. You got an issue, the manager then kicks in. You don't have an issue, everything's working. I think you don't mess it up.
Right. Just let it go. Let it work.
Everything's good. Yeah. Let it go.
Yeah. Sometimes you don't have to go ahead and jump in and try to, have people do whatever they want to do. But, obviously it's a lot easier to go ahead and allow people that are their specialty to let them do their thing and know where your specialty is and not try to micromanage the other people.
That's it. So let me close it out.
Sure.
I've been using a new question as my final question. I don't think we need to do a whole lightning round. We learned a lot about Lars Tetens in this last hour plus. But here's my question. This is really apropos for this weekend, because right now there is an asteroid that is coming very close to the Earth. Goes around, it's a regular asteroid, comes back around on a regular basis, but it's really close to the Earth, considered one of those hazardous events. 3 million miles away, but that's really close. So soft trajectory and the human race is wiped out. what would you do if you knew that an asteroid of that magnitude was going to hit the planet and pretty much we're gone? Would you do anything different in those 24 hours than what you do now? Is there anything special you would do that you wanted to do?
No, I would just hang out with my girlfriend.
That's it. Just watch the world disappear.
Yeah, just hang out, enjoy, relax, have a good time.
Hold
Probably
it close
make
and
some
go.
food together. You know, we like cooking together. So yeah.
There you go. All right. All right. So that's it. That's the show. Thank you very
Thank you
much
so
for
much for kidding
joining.
me. It's an honor to be on your show. I love it.
If you stick around for a minute, I'll say goodbye to everybody. I want to thank the sponsors and all the viewers for watching the show today. Don't forget, you can always go to LarsTetens.com. You can check out what's going on with Lars Tetens now and in the future. He's building out new things on there. And don't forget to love, like, and enjoy Stogie Press and StogiePress.com and Stogie Press on YouTube. So with that, I'll say have a great night. Have a great weekend.